So this chapter, I was given most of what I asked for. I expected that we were gonna have either a dedicated Lucy chapter or like peering in to kind of keep us updated on all the other fights, and we kind of had that because the Gray and Natsu fight went down pretty quick, and I'll wait for that one. I'll wait till I get to that part because I definitely want to talk about that scene. But like Urza and Wendy versus Yoko, that fight was over. Like I said though, like unless there was some way for them to not, to change Yoko's entire idea of going to eat them, like feed them to her yokai, then they were going to get back up. But Celine interfered, so it's like, okay, yeah, they're done for right now. And it looks like this is going to be opening up like the characters being, just generally too weak. They don't have the Elentir boosts like down that they've do have. Because one thing that is definitely true is outside of Lucy, they don't know about like what kind of general like baseline increases they have with their magic. Because Lucy not needing her keys is really important, because her keys are the connecting point between like the contracts and the magic. That means like Lucy, her magic is powerful enough in Elentir that she can just access the gate itself. So like her grasp on celestial spirit magic and spatial magic in general like is increased drastically while she's over here. And I'm guessing Natsu and Gray, like and as well as any of them, are gonna have outright effects. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Natsu went Dragon Force and Gray went to his his Devil Force form, and it's like they're progressed. Like maybe Natsu has a horn or Gray has a horn or something, but they don't know that yet. They don't know that there are outright bonuses to their abilities in Elentir, and they haven't discovered them yet, because it doesn't look like it's just outright you're more powerful. It looks like your magic advances in various ways. But I was kind of right on like the contents of the chapter, because it was for the most part Lucy focused, and I was really happy about that. We got some outright confirmation of some stuff that it's been part of the series for a long time, but it's nice to see it like fully stated. But at the very beginning, where it looks like we're going to be getting some lore and like world building on Ferris's side of things with like the whiteout group of people, and now we're going to meet this grand white priestess. The thing with the fan translations, people wondering is because the way that it was worded, like if it maybe like knocked over the whole theory of whoever the white wizard actually is. A lot of people still think it is Elentir. I'm definitely on board with that. Either that or a new character, just because he's already suspicious, and Ferris, having noted specifically that she isn't actually the white wizard, that has to mean that Mishima has plans for the role of said actual white wizard in the future. Otherwise it'd be like, why even mention that she was just kind of taking on the idea of it and just running with it to she said have fun, but just kind of swept up as it was going. But this Grand White Priestess, I think, is going to be probably a really neat character to see. I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I'm guessing that that's going to be a step for the characters to get stronger, because in this one it's all set up that they're going to need to get more powerful. With the other people, I think it's just that they don't know about their Elentir boost. But Lucy had a outright bad matchup for her, but also she still has a lot of room to grow. Because the thing about Lucy versus everybody else is Lucy's magic, she has Aronometria, but that's really her only big offensive ability. For the most part, Lucy is utility. She's the tools in a lot of scenarios. Like Urza has all of her kind of utility, but hers is mostly in fighting. Lucy's has a lot more multi-purpose use than just what she can do in battle, but obviously in the trade-off she isn't as outright powerful. It is stated in this chapter, and I was really happy because this is one of those things that had always been apparent in the series, but it's just outright stated here to make it fully just 100% grounded in canon, that the stronger the summoner is, the more powerful the person is. So I'm wondering if this means that the celestial spirits haven't actually been at their full, like their outright like pinnacle of strength that they've probably been, because I would assume when people like Anna and Layla were summoning them, they were would be able to kind of compete with much bigger characters, because Lucy just, like I said, she figured out like a way to kind of always have an offensive ability with them with her Star Dress and now Star Dress mix. But when she fights with her spirits, the way that you would probably think of like a lot of general spirit people, you summon a lot of them, or you summon one and have multiple uses with it and try and do more offense. But Lucy has such a high magic pool, and she's able to switch summon so fast. Like with Ares, I mean, she gets knocked back, she can switch into Ares to do a cushion to kind of, you know, soften the blow of her attack, catch her, and just all around have a useful line of. One of her only hacks also is Ares' wool, because it's like it's so comfortable and so soft that it kind of drains your want to fight. It just kind of gets you so comfortable, it distracts you from that whole scenario. Because other than that, she's got like Gemini. She doesn't have a lot of hacks. That's one of the things that Lucy definitely needs for the future. And I'm really hoping in Elentir, she either gets some form of better upgrades to her spirits, or she gets more spirits, because the spiritual arts, and you have a higher ranking summoner individual like Yoko, it opens up a lot of possibilities for Lucy. And I really want to see her keep going. It is noted from Capricorn, who I just want to note, because that was one thing that happened in the chapter that was really overlooked. She outside of the movie, she doesn't really summon Capricorn much. Like, she summoned Capricorn in the movie, she summoned against Hades, and she summoned him against or not even that, she summoned him to train before the Grand Magic game. She doesn't summon Capricorn a lot, so seeing Capricorn here was pretty cool. I was happy about that. We had Capricorn, like a short scene with Lizana, but I mean, that was just kind of like a flash moment. It wasn't even at least like the training before Grand Magic games, where it had a unique kind of story reason why Capricorn was summoned. But while talking, it is a good note that from Mimi about Yoko, because I think that the characters being against these dangerous opponents and like people who are already really powerful, because that was one of the things about the Moonlit Beauty Gods I think a lot of people didn't expect, is they've performed way better than people I think most people would have guessed. Because when we got them, I figured it was going to be like Eden 0, B Squad 6, where it's like the main cast is going to have to pretty much use, you know, they're pretty much going to have to put all effort in order to beat these guys. These guys aren't going to be 100% by the skin of their teeth, but they're going to be able to beat them just by busting out their big stuff. Once Hakune was the only one that I kind of changed my mind on before we got to see some of the stuff she did, because in her title it's Snow, Moon, and Flowers, and the fact she has Moon in her title, obviously being directly under Selene, having a title that is in direct relation to Selene too, my guess that she was gonna have to be way more powerful, and she was against the two strongest members of the main cast, so I was like, she has to be really OP and really just up there in terms of her strength in order to, you know, to be out here and to do stuff. And we did see her live up to that status. Mimi I think is performing about where people would have guessed. Yoko was the one I think who really outperforms all the, like, them in totality of these three Moonlit Buddha guys. I'm wondering how many there are as well, but these three definitely did better, I think, than most people would have given them credit for at the start. Because with Mimi is a bad opponent for Lucy. She is seems to be absurdly durable. We don't know exactly her powers, because that was one of the things that I mentioned in a previous video and I mentioned in my predictions, as I wanted to know what her abilities were, because she can't just be, oh, I'm physically really strong. She can't just be like super strength, because not only is she so much higher on the bar than characters who would have such a basic power, unless her super strength was absurd, unless she's like lifting up giant land masses like mountains are like nothing, like she's throwing them like frisbees, but outside of that, like, she's tied to Selene, so she has to have a really good power. Her eating Aquametria is ridiculous, because that still sits, because it's not a very big spell, and I did mention, like, Lucy isn't an offensive fighter, so like, just like talking about power levels for a second, you can't really skip, like, there's a good bar for like Ethereon at Wall, because Wall can use Ethereon, so anybody equal to or stronger than Wall should be able to have that kind of like power output. It's pretty crazy, but everybody obviously who went through that arc knows how crazy power levels were spiking and taking just massive jumps, as you know, they pretty much do every arc. But with with Lucy, she should at least scale to like a normal swing from Ikusa Tsunagi, and he was cleaving mountains and stuff. So if Lucy's in that multi-mountain range to like low island level range, it's pretty big sounding just because she doesn't have any feats of that like sizable scale, but she should scale up to that level in just a couple of areas from just her general like feats of where she's at now, but even kind of some of like her being able to at least damage brandish. But her putting Aquametria, like imagine like if her all out attack is like, I don't know, somewhere in that kind of like multi-island or level range or something, or sorry, multi-mountain level to island level range, just kind of like thinking of the idea of not really kind of considering the realization of power levels, just thinking of like the idea of her where her attacks sit at. Aquametria is still, it's like one step below Aratometria, so I'm guessing, you know, somewhere in the mountain level area that she just threw at Mimi, and Mimi drank it. Like it's pretty crazy, but at the same time it's like, I mean, yeah, something ridiculous like that is fully believable when you get to like these tiers. But yeah, Mimi, I'm really hoping that we get like a good power for Mimi. But Mimi mentioning the whole stuff with Yoko means that it was emphasized on Lucy of a superior summoner. So I'm wondering if Lucy can find out about stuff about Yoko to improve her game, or if she can meet Yoko, or how Mishima is going to advance Lucy in this, because we've already seen with Wendy already has plot stuff you know, going into this that is going to have her improve, but also as we've seen with Superior and already with Irene, Wendy's improved just in the general sense of like understanding what Superior is in spiritual arts, whereas Lucy has already shown one of her power-up traits in Elentir, being able to summon without her keys, and it's been obviously in this chapter kind of emphasized of her still having room to grow, but still getting more powerful, because it was said by Capricorn that she was still growing, she's still getting stronger, and she's still maturing, but there's still a good way for her to go. Like she's upset that she's not strong enough to beat her. Again, at the same time, this is a bad matchup for Lucy. You know, an outright just big physical powerhouse who you either would have to take down with just overwhelming physical force or just overwhelming raw amount of power, or get hacks. And Lucy doesn't have those because Lucy is a utility-based fighter for the most part. Like she still has some pretty good stats just in base scaling and where her feet should put her at. But like her level of offense obviously isn't at a point to keep up with like the people she's at now. And usually when she's fighting an opponent right now, she's able to figure out a way to trick them, or she's able to kind of like find a way around their powers or something. But Mimi just seems to be an outright problem for her. And there's still the possibility of her being able to use Gemini, but like I don't really know if like just beating her using Gemini would really work. Because I wonder if Gemini would be able to use the spiritual arts. I guess it would have her memory, so it should. Either way, I thought this was a really good chapter. It reminds me of just like a little bit looking back on like Wendy like being upset that she wasn't as powerful as she thought she had become. So I really will look forward to seeing whatever Lucy's upgrade is, like however she's going to improve throughout this arc. Because I do have my fingers crossed, and it does look to be going the way of, is one of the things we missed out on Daedalus, is the main cast using whatever the condition is in this alternate world to become more powerful. Whereas in Daedalus, it was like they had no magic. They suddenly were without power. So I was like, well, maybe they'll learn a weapon, or they'll learn some form of secondary ability to improve their main powers whenever they get them back or something. But that didn't happen, and I always was bummed out about that, because it didn't need to happen, because Daedalus was only like 30 chapters, but it was such a good opportunity. And now we're in Elentir, where the characters are outright more powerful, but they also seem to have more perks and more abilities, so it's all just kind of lining up to kind of give me what I didn't get in Daedalus. And it's already improved Daedalus too, just in the whole stuff with Selene and Elentir in general, so I've been pretty happy about that. And if this chapter really is, you know, segueing into the characters' training, getting more powerful, learning some new aspects of their abilities, I'll be super happy. Because that's something that Mishima doesn't generally do. Like, he doesn't spend a lot of time on, like, training arcs. Like, you don't get a lot of, like, the one that I always think of when it comes to longer training arcs is Hitman Reborn. there was like 20 to 30, I think maybe more chapters of like Suna when he was learning X Burner, and all the other members of the main cast were learning how to use those boxes and stuff, which is fine. Like, not a lot of series do something that long, but it was a while, really, when you think about it. Like, thinking about watching and reading that in real time, like, as it was coming out, it would probably just, you'd probably like, when are we going to get back to the main stuff? I feel like it could be a little taxing. With Mishima, it'll probably be like each of the characters, I'm guessing, figuring something out about their powers and then kind of like advancing a little bit and then deploying them in fight against like some fodder and kind of like training through battle, but maybe figuring it out outside of battle. I don't know. It's a really weird turn that Mishima is doing with this, but at the same time it makes sense. Like, he needs to get the characters more powerful to fight the dragon gods and whatnot. But yeah, I am really happy to see Lucy. I'm always happy to see her progress and get stronger and really step up. And if she can get some form of like raw power-up form, something that just in general improves all of her stats, that would be really good. Or if she could get some better hacks, or maybe she goes back to like doing combos with her spirits like she did during the Grand Magic Games in her fight with Flare. There's definitely stuff that she could do that she already has. But there's also new stuff that she can develop. Like, can she get more spirits? Can she develop new techniques with her spirits? What is Lucy's game plan? I think it'd actually be fine if she could go into Stardress Mix, and it's like in this world, especially with everything improved, if she could stay in it longer, and then she could have just general power increases, kind of like, any power-up form. Like, she has the big the way that I'm kind of thinking about it is Kingdom Hearts, like when Sora, when he's got like one of the forms in Kingdom Hearts 3, he's got a timer in it where he can use all these special moves and all these combos, and then he's got his ultimate big finisher, and it kind of like runs him out of the form. That's how I'm hoping Lucy's Stardress Mix forms get when like further on, or if she develops something beyond that, maybe gives it a cooler name. I don't know, maybe Stardress Mix will be the in-between form and she'll get something even better. But I'm wondering if maybe telling her she lacks discipline is going to like lead into like a martial arts Lucy. It's such a weird idea, but it could happen. But anyway, talking about Hakune, because Hakune, to me, I think she, like, going into this, she had the biggest bar for me to set. And then when I read the chapter this morning, so I was going through it, I wasn't like that surprised that Wendy and Ursa were still defeated, because it would have to be like a moment where Yoko was going in like she's about to kill them if they don't get up, that they would just have to, get back to their feet, or something would have to happen. But like, we got the stuff with the Grand White Priestess. I'm interested in that. I think that's going to be really just general hype for world building, and I think it could give us a lot of needed information on maybe like spiritual arts or Elentir, or another flashback giving us the situation of what like Celine's been up to and stuff. The Lucy stuff I was really happy about. I really like seeing Lucy just get some displays, because Lucy, again, out of all of them, she has the least amount of fights, I think, too. Like, serious fights is where I want to put it. Like, she probably has more fights than Wendy, but Wendy's fights are way more serious than Lucy's. Lucy sometimes gets some more funny fights, because she gets stuck with a lot of weaker characters, because, like I said, she is not a powerhouse fighter. She has to fight usually either lower characters or somebody that she has to kind of figure out ways around for her opponents. That's, I think, why Mimi is such a troubling foe for her, because Mimi already outright overpowers her and then seems to just kind of come over her spirits. But Mimi just it is this immovable wall that kind of runs into all of Lucy's lowest stats and aspects. So, I mean, if Lucy gets some good hacks, I mean, that would be pretty good. Because even if Mimi could like scale higher than someone like I was thinking something like Mardgear. Like, if you wanted to try and argue like the level of people that Mimi should be above is above Mardgear. It's like, well, Mardgear could just drop Memento Mori on her. GG. Lucy doesn't have something like that. But yeah, so Hakune. Talking about Hakune, one, I love Hakune's form. I think it looks just good in general. I really like the cool ice diamond kind of like weird cape pieces she has, and then the ornaments. But her using her ability Diamond Effect, and this morning I was like, I mentioned before, if she does anything to Natsu and Ray, she has to be absurd, because Natsu obviously can burn magic effects and whatnot, but also, the fire, super dragon fire to ice and snow, melts it. Gray is an ice devil slayer, as well as Gray has an absurdly high fast adaptability speed compared to other slayers. So they were in a bad spot in general, or sorry, Hakune was in a bad spot in general just to be about against these guys with an ice-based power, with a cold-based power. And she, like, her beating them this morning, I was like, what is the effect of her power? And I was trying to figure it out, and one thing I was like, well, maybe she's just so fast that she can beat Gray and Natsu's, before they can react. But it's more broken than that. Like, her spiritual art freezes somebody's ability. Like, if she hits you with it, you can't use, at least in terms of the one Sid, you can't use magic, you can't use curses, you can't use spiritual arts. She just has this almost instant win ability for people under these branches. Like, that's just dangerous. She has a very, very dangerous ability. Like, it's what's funny is in Black Clover recently we had Xenon's devil power explained, and it's kind of hard to explain it if you didn't have seen it already, but I figured out a way just to kind of explain. I was talking to some of the guys. It's kind of like Kiven's power, the compass ability, but way better. And Hakune's power is kind of like Invol's Ice Lock, but way better. Where it's like, yeah, it kind of puts a lock on you and it slowly numbs your mind, and then when it numbs your mind enough, he gets control of you. This just says, yeah, you don't get to fight back. Sorry. Turns off your powers. There's still obviously other abilities out there, but if you're a magic curse or a spiritual ability user, you are screwed. It's actually, like, it's way better than I thought it was gonna be, just in practice. Like, I thought she was gonna have something really good in, like, effect, like she would have some kind of, like, crazy conceptual ice or something just broken at like a really high-end explanation standpoint, but this is broken at just a right out of the gate, sorry, no, you can't use powers. It's like you're preparing for a JoJo ability, but then it's just like, oh no. This, what's your ice do? And then you think you're gonna get a paragraph. It's like, no, it's just you can't use powers if you're affected by it. Really good right now. So at the very end of the chapter, we see Celine, and she seems upset that that the fairy tale cast didn't beat her Moonlit Beauty gods, and she's like, don't kill them, bring them to her. She's got like a great idea for like a party. So I'm still wondering how she is going to rule out this arc in the way it's going to progress, because Celine is obviously in control here. She's very powerful, she knows everything that's going on, and she has very powerful minions, so she's in a very dangerous position of control. And while she's doing this, the question is going to be, what else like comes about it in terms of like people outside the main cast? Because I still think that she's going to end up pulling other important characters in. Like, I think Kana, the people I'm hoping for are Kana and Guildarts, Sting and Rogue, hiccup right there, Laxus, and then the one that I want the most, but I feel like he has the highest possibility, is Jalal. And one of the things I think that Jalal has a really strong possibility into becoming part of this arc is right before it, and then you had that scene with him and Urza, embracing each other under a crescent moonlight. So I'm guessing that Mishima is going to use Jalal in this. We'll see. And Jalal would be one of those guys that if he was brought in later, he'd be able to figure out all the advances in his magic and in his abilities and whatnot way faster. Because if you compare Jalal, if you compare the other characters, like you put everybody in Elentir and you just kind of interviewed them, most of the characters probably wouldn't figure it out like as early. Because when you look at like Natsu and Urza, they're not the smartest at times. Gray is kind of like Wendy, where they seem a little bit smarter than their average person, but they're not like geniuses. Lucy is like super adaptable smart. I think that's the difference between like Lucy and Jalal. Like, if you gave Lucy all the material that Jalal knows, she could probably learn it, but Jalal just knows way more, and he's way more of a prodigy. So like, if you put Jalal and Lucy just kind of left alone in Elentir, Lucy would have probably eventually figure out about the Elentir buffs without it being an accident. I'm sure she could figure it out somehow, just kind of notice it. Whereas Jalal could probably sense there's a difference. I feel like Jalal he's just one of those characters, like if Zareth was an Elentir and he's just like, oh wow, I can do all these extra things, and it's like, how do you do that right off the bat? Oh yeah, your character, you just are some magic genius, like super guy. Zareth way more than others, but Jalal is definitely like along that line. Plus Jalal is really smart in general. He's, you know, he's one of those guys, I'm thinking kind of like Mavis or something too, where it's like, yeah, they would pick it up. But I really want to see how Selene goes about this. I'm really hyped for Selene. She's one of my big villains for next year. I did my favorite villains for 2021. It was Makima, Alderaan, Draken Joe, and Mojito. And I wanted to put Dante on there, but I think Dante, similar to Selene, is going to have like all their good stuff shown in 2021, whereas 2020 was just the opener. Because for Dante, for the most part, it was mostly a little bit of his personality and like a fight scene, but we haven't gotten to like the utmost of his like abilities and like what he's going to do the story. And that's how I feel about Selene. I feel like Selene is going to be, you know, for the next year or two is going to be, you know, this is going to be her big villain time. But I really liked Alderaan's. I thought he was very entertaining and gave us a lot of good lore stuff. Without he would have ranked a lot higher if we got like more character depth stuff to him. But it's fine. Like he didn't need he was fine just being some big monstrous conquering powerhouse dragon. Selene is already doing like the weird, crazy, tactical, whimsical dragon stuff. So I'm really looking forward to the next one. I'm guessing that, you know, next time they face off some of these characters, they're going to be way more skilled in their abilities. They're going to be way more skilled in what they can do, and they're going to be way more skilled in with like upgrades and whatnot. Because I'm guessing these aren't the top of the Moonlit Beauty gods. If Hakune is number 2, I'd be fine with that. If Hakune was like directly under Selene, it'd be surprising to reveal her so early. But with her ability and like I said, she has Moon in her title, so you know she is way more in representing Selene and what Selene cares about than other characters. So other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter. It was really fast. The hard thing about these last 3 chapters is they've read really fast because they've jumped between spots very quickly. And like this one, like Lucy stuff, there was a lot less dialogue. I think this chapter too. Like there was a couple scenes, but for the most part it was very fast paced because it was, you know, Lucy's fight, which I'm still happy about. But it is rough sometimes when you get just those fast paced chapters. When you're waiting bi-weekly, if this was weekly and we got a chapter like this, I wouldn't really care. I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm still happy we got a chapter. We still got lots of stuff. But I can kind of see like the patience thing when you don't have as much coming out, and then you have chapters like this that read really fast. I'm still hyped for the next one. This is obviously the last one of 2021, or sorry, of 2020. The next one isn't until the 12th. Yeah, the next one is still January 12th, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping we start to see some look into like the characters exploring their Elentir powers and everything that's going to be new up and coming in this arc. But other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.